This new Lotus Exige V6 has to be one of the best cars I've driven at all, and I'm going to take you today why Lotus have finally, in my view, got it right. They do say there is a very fine line between genius and insanity, and I think with the Lotus Exige V6 there's no better example of where that is very much the case, because whoever decided that it was a good idea to put a V6 supercharged engine into a car the size of a go-kart was clearly a genius. However, when you get in this car and you drive it, you suddenly start to realise that it is borderline insanity. I'm going into a bend now. I'm going to have to be careful here. With the previous Exige, I would really push it hard into the bend, but I just can't with this car. It's just too powerful. Here we go, into the bend. Whoa! Whoa! That is absolutely crazy. It's even quicker if you do take over it manually. That is frighteningly fast. Right, what I'm going to do now is show you just how crazy this Lotus is when it comes to acceleration. What I'm going to do is put it into sport mode. I'm not going to use race because it just simply is, I think, way too excessive for public roads. We're now in first gear, straight road, and this is a manual acceleration. Here we go. Oh my God. You can feel the pressure on your face. That is insanely fast. That is absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So now we've had a chance to calm ourselves down, I'm going to put this back into comfort mode or touring mode and have a talk about this car. This new Lotus is actually festooned with lots of luxury executive features for a Lotus. So when I did my video of the Cayman, I told you why I basically went for the Cayman as opposed to the Exige V6, this car here now. And those reasons included things like a switchable sports exhaust. So this car now has, like the Cayman did, a switchable sports exhaust. You basically push a button on the steering column and it enables the sports exhaust function. It also has, of course, the flappy paddle gearbox, which is the other thing I really liked on the Porsche. Now, to be honest, the flappy paddle gearbox isn't as good as that on the Porsche, and I did put that in my Porsche video before, and that's still true. However, when you put the Lotus into sport mode, as opposed to any other mode, as opposed to the touring mode, the gear changes are very, very much quicker. So it is a matter of putting the car in sport mode and you will get a faster gear change. I also said that the Porsche Cayman had a really nice sports steering wheel, and now of course so does the Lotus. So Lotus have made up for that shortcoming too. The other thing I mentioned about the Cayman was the fact it had a really nice leather stitched interior, and yes, this Lotus now also has a really nice leather stitched interior, apart from the dashboard, which is still plastic, but I think I can forgive it for that, given the fact that how powerful this car is and how much fun it is to drive. So the other burning question is, how does this Lotus compare to the previous Exige that I used to have, the Exige S2, which of course was also supercharged. Now if you saw the video that I did on the drive to Yorkshire, I took it on a 350 mile round trip. It had many shortcomings. Well, I'm about halfway up to Yorkshire and I've just pulled into my first service stop, about halfway, and thank God. I'm being starkly reminded of just how poor the Lotus is when it comes to long distance travelling. Nowhere to put your coffee, so you have to stuff it down the side of the gearbox there. And it's at times like this when I realise some of the main things you need in a car are: one, carpets, that helps, a coffee cup holder would be brilliant, and some comfortable seats. If there's something that this car needs, it's sound deadening. When you're travelling at 70 miles an hour on a motorway, it's not just the volume of the noise, it's like a constant drone in your ears and through your body. So how does this new S3 version of the Lotus Exige compare? Well, it's pretty good, because the new Exige, this one I'm driving now, for a start, has an inbuilt cruise control. So now I can press the cruise control button and let the car sit there at a nice steady motorway speed and relax and enjoy the drive. And yes, this car now has carpets. Basic ones, but it does have carpets. Another problem I had was the fact that I couldn't store my coffee anywhere. I was shoving it down the side of the gear lever, but this car of course now has the coffee cup holder. Final issues I discovered when taking my previous Exige on that 350 mile trip was of course the noise, and it was extremely noisy to drive. Now, I'm not saying that this Exige V6 version is particularly quiet, but it's certainly not as noisy as the previous model that I had. So we're starting to see many of the things that were shortcomings in the S2 model now being put right in the S3, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, here we go. So now we've got the roof off the car, and at the moment I'm just in the touring mode, and I can say it's absolutely brilliant to be driving this car with no roof on. Now what I'm going to do in a minute is we're going to put it into sport mode, and I am probably going to need some new change of underwear, because I'm going to give it the beans in sport mode with the roof off. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit scared about doing this, because it is ridiculously fast, and this will be the first time I've done it without the roof. In sport mode, full acceleration. There we go, guys. Absolutely bonkers. right. This car does 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, and you suddenly realise just how bonkers this car is. So there you go, and it's so addictive. It is just so addictive. But there you go, folks. That's my first real test review of my Lotus Exige V6S. And my conclusion so far is, if you combine the insane speeds with the fantastic looks of this car and the great affordability of running it, you really can have your cake and eat it. Actually, I'm starting to feel a bit sick. All this eating cakes and driving so much. Perhaps I'll leave the cake.